Good morning, folks. Bobo here. Welcome back to 3Zen. So this story took place in 1970. I suppose before 1970, because 1970 is when I heard it, just after we got into T-38s. Our flight commander, Captain Ford Barrett, I believe is the one that shared the story with us. At any rate, I can't tell you if it's true. I've never met the guy that is the subject of the story, but there's been several guys from Randolph who went through about the same time that I did, that I've met in subsequent years, that also told the same story, and we all laughed about it. So with that in mind, there was this fella out at Willie, Austin P. Decker III. Like I said, I never met him. And apparently he would get a little bit rattled when any kind of anomaly popped up in the airplane when he was flying solo. And it first manifested something like a day he's out in the area, he's flying solo, and LA Center gets a call, something on the order of LA Center, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Austin P. Decker III on guard. Well, as you might imagine, the guy's sitting down in the center, kind of looking at each other, what the hell? So they said, calling LA Center squawk ident, so they could figure out who it was, and say again. He said, yes, sir, squawks ident. Now they have an idea about who it is. And he said, yes, sir. He says, this is Austin P. Decker III. I'm declaring an emergency. I'm about to step over the side. Oh, Jesus. Wait a minute. So about this time, a quick thinking IP heard this conversation on guard, goes over to guard himself, and he says, hey, Austin. He says, this is Willie 2-3. He said, what's the nature of your problem? And he says, sir, he says, I've got a right engine that's fluctuating in the EGT quite a bit, sir. And he says, okay, what's your power, what's your throttle setting? And he says, sir, I'm in military power. He says, okay, pull the throttles back to 90%. So Austin does. He says, what do your engine instruments look like now? And Austin says, the right engine has stabilized. He says, okay, sounds like you have a T5 amplifier issue, which was not unheard of. It wasn't frequent, but it was not unheard of in those days. And he says, sounds like you got a T5 amplifier. He says, just go ahead and take the airplane back to base, and we'll talk to you when we get down. Okay, sir. So he goes off guard and he says, Willie's, or LA Center, this is Willie 19, solo requesting return to base. Now, I'll tell you right up front, I don't know the solo call signs they used in those days, but for the purpose of the story, let's go with it. So anyway, he goes back and lands, and they debrief him. They said, Austin, you got to keep your call sign in mind. Okay, fine. Well, things kind of roll along for a couple weeks, and LA Center's kind of watching things as they go another day, and they get a call, LA Center, Austin P. Decker III on guard. Oh, God, what now, Austin? And he says, I'm declaring an emergency. He says, I'm about to punch out. Austin, what's wrong? He says, well, sir, he says, I was doing a loop, and he says, I came out the bottom of the loop. He says, I got a tremendous amount of vibration in the airframe. He says, it's just really bad, sir. Well, again, another IP goes over to guard and says, hey, Austin. He says, what's the deal? And he repeats it. And he says, okay. He says, check your speed brake, neutral and up. Sometimes when we would retard the throttles out of military power, it was not uncommon for the student to inadvertently hit the speed brake switch. So if you're coming out the backside of a loop and you're going 500 knots, 450, 500, and that speed brake comes down, you're going to get a rumbling, okay? And if you're not used to it, it can get your attention. So Austin hears this clunk. He says, okay, sir, that rectified the problem. He says, this is Austin P. Decker III. I'm canceling the emergency. And they said, I'll go home anyway. So off he goes. Anyway. So a couple more weeks or a week or so go by. LA Center's out there, and then sure enough, here he comes again. LA Center, Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Austin P. Decker III. Sir, I'm about to give it back to Jane Fonda. What's the problem now, Austin? He says, I've got a runaway G-suit. A what? Well, sir, my G-suit's inflated, and he says, I can't control it. And so another IP comes on, he hears this, and, it makes you think they were all briefed. But anyway, he says, Austin, what's going on? He says, my G-suit, sir, it's running away. He says, I can't hardly stand it. And the IP says, okay, have a look on the left side of your console and see if there's anything laying on the G-suit test button. Now, we had a test button on that left side of the console there. It had a spring bob in it. And we would test our G-suits on the ground. All you had to do is push it, and it inflated the G-suit. But if you were flying and something inadvertently got dropped over there, landed over there, and pushed on the button, it would just push that button down, and you would have a runaway G-suit. It'd inflate. So Austin looks over there, and sir, there's my in-flight guide. So he says, okay, pick it up and put it somewhere secure. Okay, I'm canceling the emergency. And that was it. But oh my God, the years I've told this story about Austin P. Decker III, I'm punching out. Good Lord. That's a story that Captain Barrett told 50-some years ago, and it's still funny today as it was back then. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon. This is Bobo Bass Gear Stock.